What is up? GoodMicWork commentaries back at you with episode 458. I am your host, Greg Morgan, here to give you your Raw and Smackdown reviews for September 25th and 26th, 2017. We're right off of the heels of No Mercy on Raw, and of course Smackdown is gearing up for Hell in the Cell, so we'll discuss all of the current angles on those shows. In addition to that, I'll probably touch on a couple of other wrestling news items going around as well, including news on the Bullet Club and Global Force Wrestling, and a lot of you have been asking me my opinions on the What Culture guys, so maybe I'll give you a few thoughts on that at the end of the commentary, so stay tuned for that. I don't want to waste too much time tonight, but as you guys know, every couple of commentaries I always do this, so please bear with me. Welcome to all of you listening for the first time or have recently stumbled across this channel. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. I'm trying to catch PewDiePie. I'm almost there, so if you guys would just help me out by clicking that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. Also follow me on Twitter, at GoodMicWork. That is the social media site that I am most active on. If you want my opinions on anything before I make a commentary about it, that is likely where you are going to find it. Also, please like my Facebook page. I just put up a big post there last night announcing a couple of new videos coming to the channel in the next 6 weeks, and even my year-end video is already in production. So between now and the end of the year, you're going to have a minimum of 3 pretty special episodes coming to the channel. So please keep a lookout for that and like that Facebook page. If you would like to support the channel, you can do so by becoming a patron on Patreon, or you can donate right on my website via PayPal. My website is goodmicworkcommentaries.com. If you go over there, you can even download an MP3 version of this podcast right to your device. Let's get down to business here and start talking about Raw first. Now, Raw was a really interesting show. I actually enjoyed Raw. I was only home to watch the first hour. I actually had made some plans to meet some friends out for dinner. I didn't really want to go. I wanted to stay home and watch Raw, but I'm glad that I went. It was a good time. I don't want to sacrifice too many social outings for the sake of wrestling, so it wasn't something that I was going to turn down. But I asked all of you to give me some updates and tweet me what was going on while I was gone, and you guys were sending me some pretty interesting stuff. So when I got home, I was really excited to check out the rest of the show. And I gotta be honest, I kind of liked what they teased with the Shield, and I liked the final segment with Enzo, and I'm going to get into all of that here. So the big news on Raw probably was the likelihood of the Shield reuniting. They set all this up with an opening Miz TV segment where his guest was going to be Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, of course, we all know, the night before at No Mercy, defeated John Cena in their big epic one-on-one match, with Brock Lesnar also retaining the title. It seems that WWE is really going through with this plan, this long-term plan to build Roman and have him take the WWE Universal title next year at WrestleMania. If they do not deviate from this plan or do anything else crazy to surprise us, it's going to be a repeat of WrestleMania 29 or WrestleMania 32 or some of these other shows that have been complete puke fests. So we'll have to see where they go with Roman Reigns in the future. And with everything that they set up on Monday Night Raw, this could be WWE's last-ditch effort to try to get Roman over with the audience. That's what a lot of fans are saying anyway. So anyways, he's on Miz TV. Miz is insulting the shit out of him, and I like Roman in this environment. He was sitting down in the chair. He seemed very comfortable. One of the biggest critiques of Roman Reigns is that he kind of sucks on the mic. He can be pretty boring at times, and he's very bland, and his catchphrases and his insults are kind of lame at times, but he's gotten better, and I think some of his promos against John Cena were really good, especially the one he cut on the Go Home No Mercy Raw last week, where he talked about Alex Riley, and he played the footage of John Cena talking shit about The Rock and all of that. So Roman here on Miz TV was kind of heelish. He was just kicking back, insulting The Miz, calling him a pathetic piece of shit or whatever, even told Bo Dallas and Kurt Axel to go fetch him a beverage, and was kind of basking in the glory, kind of full of himself, saying that he was very proud that he beat John Cena. It was the biggest victory of his career, which I forgot. Did Roman say that or did Miz say that? I think Roman said that, which I found surprising because even though John Cena is a very big victory, retiring The Undertaker, at least in my opinion, is much, much bigger than defeating John Cena, especially recently. In the last few years, lots of guys have beaten John Cena clean. So I was really surprised that they said that that was the most important win of Roman's career, but it certainly is setting him up for WrestleMania because now he has knocked off Braun Strowman at Fastlane, even though he lost to him a lot during the summer to help get Braun over. He retired The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Now he defeated John Cena. Who is left for him to defeat one-on-one other than the Beast? So it looks like that's what they're building towards for WrestleMania. In the meantime, he might have an Intercontinental title feud with The Miz or something. The Miz cuts an amazing promo as well, very heelish on Roman Reigns, very pissed off, saying that he's the man because he has the championship and he's made the championship the most important belt on Raw, and he single-handedly saved the brand and all this shit. And it was really good. I thought both guys cut good promos in this segment. Roman eventually gets fed up and says, fine, whatever you want, Miz, let's go ahead and fight right now. And the Miz says, no way, starts to get out of the ring and leave, and that prompts Kurt Angle to come out and officially make the match. Not only does he make the match with the Miz versus Roman Reigns, but he also puts Bo Dallas and Kurt Angle in a tag team match with Jason Jordan and Matt Hardy, which we'll talk about in a minute. But let's kind of jump a little bit ahead so we can stay on the same topic here with the Miz and Roman Reigns. Fast forward to their match. Pretty decent match. Roman makes relatively quick work of the Miz and ends up beating him, and then he is attacked by the rest of the Miztourage, and they beat the holy hell out of Roman Reigns, hitting him with chairs and setting him up for Miz to hit him with a skull-crushing finale, and then they stand over Roman's body and they all do the fist shield thing. And that's what really got the fans talking. Holy shit, it seems like a Shield reunion at this point is inevitable. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions about that. And one of my problems with it, even though I'm a huge Shield mark and I will never, ever, ever in a million years complain about them reuniting, if they're going to reunite to take on an inferior team, like the Miztourage. That's what the Miz said on Miz TV. He even teased the Shield. He goes, you know, you rode the coattails of a couple of guys too when you first got here. You were a member of the Shield, and what do you think would happen if the Shield took on the Miztourage? And Roman Reigns is like, what are you talking about? He goes, we would have you for lunch in about 10 seconds. It would be no contest. You guys would be killed, and it would be the worst day of your fucking lives. So my problem with the Shield reuniting is that if they come back and have like a pay-per-view match against the Miztourage, who cares? Who in the world think, like, there's no suspense there. You know the Shield is going to kill them. Roman Reigns even said that Seth and Dean are doing their own thing right now. Seth and Dean had all sorts of stuff going on Monday Night Raw, and I know it sounds like we're skipping all over the place, but I'm trying to stay on the Shield topic here. Dean Ambrose wound up taking on Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman came out earlier when Curt Hawkins cut a promo about his long losing streak and said that streak ends tonight, and he called out anybody to come out to the ring and lose to him, and Braun Strowman comes out. So they're trying to make the fans forget that he got pinned by 1F5 by Brock Lesnar and remain the monster that he is. He comes out, Curt Hawkins runs right out of the ring, over the barricade, through the crowd. Braun chases him down, beats the hell out of him on the outside of the ring, throws him through a table, gets him up on the ramp, and like power slams him through the screens that are right underneath the Titantron. Fucked Curt Hawkins up pretty bad. I think I even saw a picture tweeted of him of welts all over his back or whatever. And then Braun Strowman goes back to the ring, gets on the mic, and challenges anybody to come out and fight him. He's pissed off because he lost and he wants to go on a tear. Dean Ambrose comes out to answer the challenge. The two of them have a pretty decent little match together, and Braun Strowman ends up beating Dean Ambrose and hurting him pretty bad. So then backstage, Seth Rollins approaches Dean and is like, dude, we're tag team champions. You don't need to be going out there picking fights with Braun Strowman when we're the champs. You got to protect the titles a little bit more. And then Seth Rollins gets accused of being predictable by Dean Ambrose. So not really heat there or any tension. They were just kind of bantering back and forth. And Seth eventually says that next week he is going to take on Braun Strowman one-on-one. So eventually all of this is going to have to tie together, you would think. And at some point we're going to find Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins in the ring together, either facing the Miztourage or teaming up and trying to kill Braun Strowman, one or the other. But, you know, a lot of fans have been critical of this idea to bring the Shield back, but I don't know why. It's been, how long has it been? Like 3.5 years? When did Seth turn? It was after WrestleMania 30, right? Like just a month or two after? So you're talking about 3.5 years here. We all knew that the Shield would reunite at some point in the future, and here we are. They're all on the same brand, and they're all baby faces. There's really no better time to do it than right now. I know the fans might think WWE's trying to get Roman Reigns over, and that might be true, but I don't think it's really like bad timing for the Shield to reunite. This time of year is always quiet anyway. Business is always down. Interest is always down. You know, these late year-end pay-per-views generally haven't been very good in the past few years, so putting the Shield back together to help spike ratings or do whatever they need to do, or sell tickets or sell pay-per-views or sell network subscriptions, I should say. This could all be a part of that. And I think it's been long enough now to where if we saw the Shield reunite, you know, the fans could get into it. But I have a few conditions to the Shield reuniting. Number one, let's just say, for example, they put them back together at the next pay-per-view and they face the Miztourage. Let's just say that's the match. It might not be, but let's just say they take on the Miztourage. One of my biggest conditions with the Shield reuniting is they come out as the Shield. They don't necessarily have to do the old outfits because Seth and Dean have tried to make their own identities. Roman Reigns is really the only one that kept all of that. But I do think they need to do the entrance at least. But I don't think WWE would do that because everybody has to have their own entrances and everybody has to do their own shit every week so the fans can get the pictures and have the full experience. But if the Shield comes out one member at a time, each with their own music, it's not going to feel the same. I think that Sierra Hotel, whatever the fuck, needs to start, and then Roman Reigns' music hits, and then all three guys come down the stairs through the crowd. That's the way they need to reunite if they ever have a match together. If not, it just won't feel the same to me. I know that sounds crazy, but if they just go through all three entrances, I'm not going to like it. And if WWE wants to get Roman Reigns over, the fans usually boo that music. As soon as Roman Reigns' music hits, the fans boo their asses off. But will they boo as hard if Roman Reigns has Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins with him coming down the crowd old school Shield style? Otherwise, Dean and Seth are going to get cheered during their entrances, and Roman's going to get booed during his. So if they really want to have the Shield back together, they need to treat it as one and make sure that if they want cheers for Roman, he has to be a full-fledged part of this group and not separated from them. So I think at this point, fans are so bitter about Roman Reigns. It's been so long. That they're just not going to ever lighten up on him, and a Shield reunion is going to be met with resistance by the fans because they're going to think WWE's doing it to get Roman over. We told you we don't like him. WWE, I've said this before, yes, Roman Reigns has had some huge victories. Yes, he probably will go on to WrestleMania next year to face and defeat the champion, but he's not exactly 2007 John Cena either. He's lost plenty of matches. He's had some decent promos, even though he's not very good on the mic. He comes across as heelish. So at this point, other than the fact that it's just what the fans do, I don't really see that many reasons to hate the guy to this level. I know Roman's not perfect, and I know WWE wants to make him their guy, and the fans hate it when WWE makes decisions for them. But aside from that, when you look at Roman, when you just put everything out of your mind and you look at the guy, you look at his look, you look at how he's performed in the ring, he's not the worst choice WWE could have in this position. There's plenty of worse guys. We've seen that. There was a time when John Cena couldn't wrestle, remember? Now he has match of the year virtually every pay-per-view he works. You can be annoyed as hell with the way WWE gets ideas in their head. I hated what they did with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 32, the way he defeated Triple H. I hated what they did with him at the Royal Rumble in 2015 when he won so predictably in Philadelphia and even The Rock couldn't get him over. I hated his feud with Sheamus when he said he had tater tots for balls or whatever the fuck. So there has been plenty of things that WWE has done with Roman Reigns that makes me puke. But I want, at some point, the WWE, I should say, to start booking Roman Reigns correctly. So my biggest fear here is that we've gotten to the point where the fans are going to reject anything Roman Reigns, no matter what. If it's attached to Roman, they're going to hate it, even if it's good. So the Shield reunion might suck. It could be a letdown if they just face the Miz Taraj and squash them. What's the point? Other than just giving the fans some nostalgia. But like I said, if they come out separately to their own musics, it's still not going to be a Shield reunion. It's just going to be a six-man tag with these three particular guys. I think they need to come out as the Shield. Give the fans that feeling again. You guys remember, those of you who've been listening to me for the past few years, I was a total love-struck fangirl of the Shield. I loved them. So I want nothing more than for this to be a success, and I want them to do some significant things. So if they squash the Miz Taraj, it's going to kind of be like meh, but if they do something with Braun Strowman or some other guys, maybe that would be better. Samoa Joe has been on the shelf lately. Maybe he can team up with Strowman and another guy, and they can take on the Shield or something like that. That might be a little bit more fun. And Seth Rollins has even been rumored to have some title matches in the future. Apparently him and Finn Balor might be the next guys in line for Brock's title between now and WrestleMania. So if you save that to maybe Royal Rumble, maybe give Finn Balor a title shot first because he did cut a promo on Raw and said after he beat Bray Wyatt at No Mercy, he wants to set his sights on the Universal title. So they might be setting up a Brock and Finn Balor match at some point. So maybe Finn gets the match first, and then later on in the year or early next year, Seth Rollins gets the title match against Brock Lesnar, maybe at the Royal Rumble, and then Roman Reigns can be involved in that, and that can start building for the big Roman and Brock Lesnar match at WrestleMania. And if the Shield reunion lasts, and it's not just a nostalgia act, and it goes further than just the next pay-per-view, and we go into next year and the three guys are still together, then that's the X factor in the Roman and Brock match at WrestleMania. Brock has the Shield to contend with, not just Roman. I don't think it will get to that point. I don't think Roman Reigns would defeat Brock Lesnar with the help of the Shield. I think WWE wants to make him their next guy, so he's probably going to dethrone the Beast totally clean. But if there's still a faction by that point, it could all tie in, especially if Seth gets the title match first, becomes unsuccessful, then maybe Dean and Seth take on Brock in a triple threat, and then Brock beats the both of them after defeating Seth and after defeating Finn Balor. And then Paul Heyman can come out in February and say, you know what? There is literally nobody on this roster left for Brock to challenge. He might as well retire as champion. He has defeated in the past year Bill Goldberg. He's pinned Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. He's defeated Samoa Joe. He's defeated Braun Strowman. He's defeated Finn Balor. He's defeated Seth Rollins. He's defeated Dean Ambrose. He's defeated Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. There is nobody left for him to defeat one-on-one. And then Roman comes out and says, yeah, you might have got a pin on me at SummerSlam, but don't forget, we still to this day do not know. It's been 3 years and we still don't know who would win between you and I in a one-on-one match. Because at WrestleMania 31, when I had you on the ropes, Seth Rollins came out and cashed in the briefcase, so we never knew. So that could be how they set up the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar match. It's going to suck, don't get me wrong, especially if Roman just beats him clean and it's as predictable as, you know, the John Cena beating The Rock or Roman Reigns beating Triple H at the last few WrestleManias. If it's predictable as that, I'll complain right there with you that, damn, WWE, do something a little more fun. If you're going to insist on putting the title on Roman, fine, but don't make it so predictable to where the fans are going to boo the fuck out of it, you know, at the end of the show. That already happened to you a couple times before. So the fact that the WWE doesn't care about that kind of scares me a little bit. They just don't give a shit. They're going to go through with their plans most of the time. They'll change it up sometimes, like we saw at WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan. But other than that, if Vince McMahon gets an idea in his head, he generally sticks with it. So, you know, there you go. That's kind of my thoughts on the whole Shield reunion and what effects it could have on future booking. I guess it could go a lot of different ways, but I just don't want it to suck. You know, if the Shield's coming back, make it good. Don't make it shitty. So, you know, those are really my only issues with WWE is that if they're going to do this, please put some planning into it and please make it something that the fans would enjoy. Don't just throw it together and make it up as you go. We deserve better than that. So leave me all your thoughts on the Shield reunion and how good you think it's going to be or how bad you think it's going to be or what you're pissed off about or whatever the fuck. Just put it down in the comments below. I alluded to the Jason Jordan and Matt Hardy match earlier on. They did defeat Bo Dallas and Kurt Axel. I'm pretty sure that match opened the show. Jeff Hardy is injured. He is going to be on the shelf for a while with a shoulder injury. I think it's a torn rotator cuff or torn labrum. I've had rotator cuff injuries before. They suck. I've never had to have surgery, but Jeff does. And apparently that's, you know, you can't have surgery and be back in a couple of weeks. So he's probably going to be on the shelf for a few months. And that sucks right now for the Hardy Boys. And plus with Matt being in limbo, not being able to use the broken character. I don't know if WWE can really do anything with Matt Hardy. Right now, they're just putting him with Jason Jordan. Jeff Hardy was in the corner of those two, but I would expect that Jeff will be off of TV from now on once he has that surgery to recover. So we're probably not going to see too much of Jeff at all. So Matt's kind of stuck there right now with nothing to do, and I guess they're probably just going to put him with Jason Jordan for a while and until they figure out something to do with him. And I don't know, Matt might be stalled out now. They could give him some singles matches on Raw, let him cut some promos and tickle the fans in their special broken places. But aside from that, I'm a little worried about what Matt Hardy will be doing on the roster with Jeff Hardy hurt. I did mention Finn Balor earlier on when he cut the promo talking about wanting a shot at the Universal title. He had a match with Goldust. And this one was confusing because I just mentioned last week when Goldust was taking on Bray Wyatt and Bray Wyatt wiped the paint off of his face. I'm like, wasn't Goldust a heel? Didn't he turn heel on R-Truth? Now he's a babyface and Bray Wyatt is humiliating him. And then he had a match the next week with Bray Wyatt. Now he's got a match with Finn Balor. It seems like he's a heel again. And I just can't keep up. He's like the Big Show. He's like the new Big Show of heel and face turns. You just don't know what the hell's going on. I don't think WWE's writing team does either. Finn Balor ends up defeating Goldust with the coup de grace. And then after the match, who shows up on the Titantron? Bray Wyatt. So we're going to go 4 pay-per-views now, really, with these guys? I'm hoping that this is resolved on Raw. I'm hoping that this is not another tease for another match at another pay-per-view, which is TLC, right? I don't even know. Is Brock booked for TLC? I don't think so. He might be off until the end of the year now. I'm not sure. So maybe they need to kill some time with Finn Balor, so they're going to do one more match with Bray Wyatt. Maybe some sort of a deciding factor. I thought the last one was already the rubber match and Finn Balor won. He beat him as the Demon. He beat him as regular Finn Balor. What is left to do with Bray Wyatt now other than beat him again? So they might have some sort of a gimmick match on Raw, maybe something that will be announced a week or two before, maybe a main event segment on a show between Finn Balor and Bray Wyatt. And we got one more match between the two, but I was a little bit disappointed to see Bray Wyatt come up on the Tron and talk shit to Finn Balor after the match because I thought that feud was over. I think WWE needs to move on. Alexa Bliss is moving on. Looks like she's beginning a program with Mickie James. She was out in the ring celebrating her victory at No Mercy the night before. Really good outing for Alexa Bliss in that match. And Mickie James came out and says, "You never really beat me." And Alexa Bliss insults her, calls her an old lady. Mickie James slaps the shit out of Alexa and then super kicks her and stares her down. So that looks like that's going to be your next feud or next title program, which is fine. I like Mickie James. I would love to see her get another run. I think the matches between the two will be pretty good, and Mickie's a veteran who can help Alexa. Nothing to really complain about there, about Mickie James getting an opportunity to work for the title, but still, when I think about Asuka coming in just a few weeks, I'm wondering what she's going to do when she gets there. I guess they're going to have Alexa Bliss go on a little bit of a winning streak here. She won that big fatal 5-way at No Mercy, and then if she defeats Mickie James, it might make her a little bit stronger for Asuka. But really, when Asuka gets there, that belt needs to be around her waist within a matter of seconds, and I hope that it is. We also had a women's tag team match that I didn't pay much attention to. Sasha Banks and Bayley beat Emma and Nia. Too bad for Nia Jax. She had a pretty good showing for herself at No Mercy. I thought she had a decent amount of momentum, and I had predicted her to win the title at No Mercy, and now it seems like she's completely stalled out, so that's kind of a bummer. We also had Elias Sampson defeating Apollo Crews again. And earlier on, did I mention Seth Rollins defeating Sheamus? I can't even remember if I said it or not. But anyway, that match happened as well. And Seth got the victory over him. Cesaro, I think, is going to be on the shelf for maybe another week while he's getting his teeth fixed. We all remember what happened to him at No Mercy. I freaked out about that on my No Mercy reaction video because it just gives me the willies. But apparently when he smacked his teeth on the ring post like that, not only did he break them, but he shoved them way up into his gums. And he was just a mess. So he probably had to get those teeth taken out and replaced with implants, most likely. And it's going to take a while to heal. His mouth is probably pretty fucking tender, to say the least. So I want to wish Cesaro a speedy recovery. And now we're on to the final segment, which I cannot believe I'm going to sit here and say this, but you're about to hear me say a lot of fucking good things about Enzo. They kind of did a swerve here, which was great. First of all, how about cruiserweights being in the main event segment of Raw? Holy shit. And Enzo was out there to have a victory celebration. Earlier on, he approached Kurt Angle backstage, asked for permission to go out there and celebrate, and then he got Kurt Angle to agree to sign some clause to where nobody can lay a hand on him or nobody can beat him up. And he's out there in the ring and he retires one of his old jerseys, and then he starts to go heel. And I'm watching this and I'm like, this is fucking brilliant. This is exactly what they should do. He starts talking shit about everybody on 205 Live, saying that he's the one that made 205 Live relevant. And as soon as he gets there, he's the champ. All the cruiserweights come out to the stage and he starts insulting every one of them. Talks about Rich Swann's shitty dancing and Cedric Alexander having no charisma and Grand Metalik being fat and called Jack Gallagher teacup. And then Neville finally comes out to shut him up and says that, hey, you were dropped on our doorstep because nobody else wanted you, and says that he is there to end him. And he throws down the mic and gets in the ring and stares down Enzo, and Enzo says, hey, motherfucker, you can't do anything to me. I have this clause that says you cannot touch me, and if you do, you're not going to get another shot at this title. And taunts and taunts and taunts Neville until Neville snaps, hits him with a kick, brutally and viciously beats the shit out of Enzo, and then hits him with one of the most awesome red arrows I have ever seen. Picture perfect, bounces way off the mat after he hits it, and it looked fabulous. And I thought this is exactly the boost that 205 Live needs. I mean, Enzo should be a heel. He comes off as one, but making him a heel is so much easier for me to accept Enzo, and he did a really good job here, like a really good job. And I think it's good because we all know that in the ring, Enzo cannot compare to really any of those cruiserweights on the roster. And he's in a babyface position. That's going to be tough for the internet audience to like a guy like that who's not good in the ring and is getting a title over everybody else that has a lot of talent on 205 Live. But by making him heel, this makes everything worth it, because now Enzo can escape title matches. He can cheat. He can do things to survive and hang on to his title by hook or by crook. to where the cruiserweights are frustrated. Nobody can get the title off of this guy because he's such a dirty, rotten cheater. He can talk smack like no other. His mic work on Raw was fabulous. I couldn't believe how great some of the things he was saying was. I love the way he insulted all the cruiserweights like that. He's very quick-witted. He just did an overall beautiful job. And it's weird because you cannot tell if this guy's being punished or not. The way he was treated on Monday Night Raw, you would think he's being completely buried, but he's a champion with a recent heel turn. So is he being punished or is he not? And I think the WWE is kind of doing both. And I don't know what the overall reaction from all of you are. I don't know how many people like or dislike this idea, but I, for one, kind of like it. I think it's the best thing for them to do with Enzo. Enzo as a babyface champion, to me, on 205 Live does not work. But as a heel, it's a completely different story. Now it's fun because we all love Neville. Neville is like one of my favorite guys in WWE. I even like his mic style, the way he talks. And just, you know, I don't know if it's his accent or how he speaks or whatever it is, but I love it. And I think Neville has vastly improved in his mic skills. And since turning Neville heel, it's made him a completely new character in WWE. He was just a floundering babyface before. But as a heel and on 205 Live, he's the king, man. He's the king, even without that title. So I like Neville, and I like this heel persona of Enzo, and I think if anything can help 205 Live, this might be it. It actually made me curious to watch 205 Live. I have not yet watched it, so I don't know what went down. But at least with Enzo swerving everyone and going heel, and now being a cocky, arrogant champion who's going to cheat all the time, I think this will be a new breath of fresh air for 205 Live. Even Enzo mentioned in his promo, which was awesome, when he was talking to Neville, taunting him about Neville not being able to touch him. He said, look at where we are right now. Look at your watch. It's the 3rd hour. This show is ending. You're in the main event segment of Raw. You have never been anywhere near this time slot until I came to 205 Live. I thought that was great. So I liked it. I actually liked it. I know I shit on Enzo all the time because I find him really annoying, but I've never denied that he's not good on the mic. I loved the breakup between him and Cass. I thought that was great stuff. Very emotional, very good mic work, very believable stuff, and Enzo does have a knack for that. And I think he can cut a great promo, whether or not he's a babyface, like a sympathetic babyface, or he's a douchebag heel. He does both equally well. So right now, I'm okay with this. And I did mention that in my predictions. I know I've shit on Enzo a lot, but if you go back and listen to my predictions, even though I predicted Neville, I said, hypothetically, if Enzo cheats to win and wins the Cruiserweight title, I would not necessarily be opposed to that. Because if you're bringing him over to 205 Live and have him get annihilated the minute he gets in the door, what's the point of bringing him to 205 Live? So I had a feeling he might win the title. And if he did, I wanted to assure the fans that I would not shit on the idea because I think it could work done right and done properly. And after what we saw on Raw with the heel turn, it was done right and it was done properly and I liked it. Hopefully WWE can follow through with it. Hopefully it will not fall flat. But right now with the players in the game, with Enzo being the way he is and Neville being the way he is, this should be fun to watch play out. And it wasn't done because I believe after Raw went off the air, then they posted on their YouTube page and .com that right after Neville was done kicking his ass, Enzo kind of stumbles to his feet. He gets up, he's got the belt, and he's kind of, celebrating with the crowd or whatever, and he's stumbling around a little bit, and then Braun Strowman's music hit. Strowman comes out there and beats the hell out of Enzo, hits him with the power slam or whatever, and then after that, all of the cruiserweights came to the ring and also beat the shit out of him, and each one of them hit him with, their finisher. So Enzo just got brutalized on Monday Night Raw, and even after the show went off the air, he was still getting his ass kicked. So I thought it was pretty good stuff, and Enzo took a hell of a beating, and looks like he's got a whole new set of opponents now. He can feud literally with the entire cruiserweight roster, especially if he's able to survive another match with Neville, or maybe this is a way to put off Neville's title rematch because now he laid his hands on Enzo and beat him up when he wasn't supposed to. So there's going to be punishment for that. So maybe Neville doesn't get a title shot right now and Enzo faces some other guys instead and can cheat and survive a couple of title victories, maybe a couple of pay-per-views, maybe even go into the end of the year as champion, and then finally Neville will get his revenge at some point and take the title back. Or maybe they'll put the belt on somebody else. Neville had a 9-month reign. It might be somebody else's turn, but I'm such a big Neville fan. If anybody's going to beat Enzo, I would like Neville to do it. Let's move on to Smackdown now. We got Hell in the Cell coming up in a couple of weeks. I believe next week's commentary is when you will hear my Hell in the Cell predictions, but we had some more setup for this pay-per-view on this show. The show opened up with a great Kevin Owens heel promo. Good heel stuff. One of the most significant things that he said is that he actually likes and respects Vince McMahon. And if he'll do that to somebody that he respects, imagine what he'll do to somebody he hates. And Sami Zayn then comes out to the ring because Kevin Owens has been acting very psychotic, and he's been acting very zombie-like, and he's been very destructive, and he's done some pretty dastardly things in the last couple of weeks. And now he's got this big Hell in the Cell match with Shane McMahon. Sami Zayn comes out to the ring and says, I've known you for a long time, and is basically out there to try to talk some sense into Kevin Owens. That, of course, is unsuccessful. Daniel Bryan ends up coming out to the ramp and making a one-on-one match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I'm pretty sure that was the main event. And the match is just a few minutes in, and Kevin Owens ends up going psycho on the outside of the ring, hits Sami Zayn with that apron powerbomb. Charles Robinson calls for the bell, throws the match out. Sami Zayn is being helped to the back, and then Kevin Owens attacks him again while he's helpless, and then goes and gets a chair, and he's about to do that chair ring post thing that he did to Jericho a few months ago. And that's when Shane McMahon's music hits. Shane sprints down the ramp. Kevin Owens throws Sami Zayn right into Shane, which gives Kevin Owens just enough time to get out of Dodge and run away through the crowd. So that matchup is now set. We're going to have one more segment next week on SmackDown, and then we're off to Hell in the Cell. It looks like this match might even be the main event. I'm not sure if Jinder and Shinsuke will be or not. And I mentioned last week that this is one Shane McMahon match where you kind of think he might win because he's lost everything he's done. He's lost to The Undertaker. He's lost to AJ Styles. All of his matches that he's had back, he's lost, which I think Shane should lose. I mentioned that last week. But at the same time, you don't want it to be too predictable either. And given what Kevin Owens has done to his family, maybe this is a match Shane McMahon could win. But I don't think that would be a travesty or a burial to Kevin Owens at all. I mean, Kevin Owens, you got to be happy for the guy. Considering where he came from, he's a lifelong wrestling fan. He grew up loving the Attitude Era, fought his way through the Independents and Ring of Honor, got a job in WWE and developmental, made it big in NXT, became a big member of the Raw roster, becoming Universal Champion, did a lot of things that guys like him typically don't do in today's WWE vision and Vince McMahon's vision. They have given this guy some big matches, some big victories, and some championships, and now he's working with the McMahons. There's really no higher spot on the card than to be involved in segments with Vince McMahon, or Shane McMahon, or Stephanie McMahon, or whatever. And you still got to wonder where Triple H stands in all this. This might not end at Hell in the Cell. Whatever happens at Hell in the Cell, Triple H might wind up coming back. So if all of this leads to that, then that's pretty good for Kevin Owens. He's working with Vince, headbutting him in the face, working with Shane McMahon in a Hell in the Cell. Then he's going to go on to work with Triple H. That's a pretty high spot on the card, and Kevin Owens has got to be feeling pretty good about where he's at. If he's not going to be in the title picture, this is probably the next best thing, even if he loses to Shane McMahon in the Hell in the Cell. You got to assume that Shane is going to take a crazy bump. I mean, that's the only thing we can think of here. Maybe if Shane winds up taking a crazy bump off of the cell or something and he's carted out and they can do an injury angle and he can be in the hospital and a body cast for all we know, and then all of the McMahons are going to be very resentful of Kevin Owens for doing that to Shane or driving him to do that to himself or whatever the case is. So it could lead to more for Kevin Owens here in the future. So this is one instance to where if Shane McMahon won, I wouldn't freak out too bad. I did not want him to beat The Undertaker. I did not want him to beat AJ Styles. And I really don't want him to beat Kevin Owens either. But if he did, I think they can still make it work. It's not going to hurt Kevin Owens at all. And we did find out that that won't be the only Hell in the Cell match at Hell in the Cell, because we're going to have another one, and that's going to be for the tag team titles. The Usos defeated the Hype Bros in a match. The New Day is in the front row eating popcorn, watching the match. The two teams talk trash to each other after. And then Xavier Woods is the one that says, we don't want to just defend the tag team titles at Hell in the Cell. We want to defend the tag team titles inside the Hell in the Cell. So there you go. Your match is set. Usos versus the New Day inside of a Hell in the Cell. I think that's wonderful. A lot of people are saying that all of these Hell in the Cell matches are diminishing the value of the WWE title. Maybe, but think about what the New Day and Usos have done recently in matches. I think a Hell in the Cell match between the two as the official blow-off, as the true blow-off between these two teams, I think that can be super fun to watch. And how does the New Day decide who competes in this? Surely this cannot be 3 against 2. Am I right? They can't put all 3 members of the New Day in there. That wouldn't be fair. So it seems like it's got to be 2 guys and 1 guy on the outside of the ring. So maybe Xavier is on the outside of the ring in this one, and you put Big E and Kofi in the match. I don't know what they're going to do. But I do like the idea, and I think the match can be fun. And as much as we've seen these two teams work together, they're still putting on awesome matches. It hasn't gotten old yet, but I think this does need to be the true blow-off. And this can go down as being one of the feuds of the year. You know, when you look at the end of the year, I've said all along it's going to go to Braun and Roman. But New Day and Usos hasn't been half bad either, and these guys have put on some dynamite matches, and I think this Hell in the Cell will be no different. It should be a lot of fun, and regardless of which two members of the New Day work in the match, you know that third member is going to get involved somehow. And I don't know if there's going to be any major off the top of the cage bumps in this match or not. I doubt it. I just think it's going to be really good storytelling because we've seen that from these two teams. Even on kickoff shows, they're tearing the house down. So I think a Hell in the Cell match is warranted for this feud. I mean, it's been a long feud, and there's a lot of heat there, and these guys have had every match possible, and they've torn the house down every time. Sometimes Usos have won, sometimes New Day has won, so putting it in the cell for one final battle, I am not going to complain about. Now, as far as the WWE title goes, this is going to be a mid-card match, and right now it is not looking like Shinsuke is going to win this belt. I'm getting over Jinder. I mentioned last week that I've been trying my hardest to like the guy. Seems like a good, down-to-earth, really decent person, and I want him to succeed, but him as WWE champion, you know, the experiment I think needs to end at this point. The problem is I don't think it's going to, because with the two big Hell in the Cell matches, where is this match going to fall on the card? If it's going to be in the middle of the card, don't put the title on Shinsuke in the fourth match. Put the title on Shinsuke in the main event of a pay-per-view. So I'm thinking right now that Jinder finds a way to retain and survive again. He was on Smackdown cutting yet another promo on Shinsuke Nakamura, making fun of him again. His last three promos on Smackdown, you literally have not been able to tell the difference between them. They've all been the same. And so this time they're showing pictures again on the Tron of Shinsuke's funny faces. But eventually the picture starts moving. Shinsuke starts moving in the picture. It's not a picture. He's there on SmackDown, and he says he's coming to the ring to kick his ass. His music hits. He comes down and lays waste to the Singh brothers and Jinder Mahal and celebrates with the crowd after. So, you know, the title right now on SmackDown is not a very big part of the show. Right now it's all about Shane and Kevin Owens, and it's all about the New Day and the Usos. And it's all about a couple of other guys as well, AJ and Baron Corbin and Ziggler and Rude and all these guys. The title just seems like an afterthought. So I am not against putting the title on Shinsuke Nakamura. I would love nothing more than for this guy to be WWE champion. But if he wins it in the middle of the card on Hell in the Cell, it's not going to feel special. If for some reason both Hell in the Cell matches take place earlier on in the card and Jinder and Shinsuke actually do main event, then yeah, put the title on Shinsuke. Wonderful. But that's going to be a tough spot to be in because those two guys are going to have to follow what not only Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon does, and God knows what Shane McMahon's got planned for this Hell in the Cell match, but also the Usos and the New Day, I have no doubt, will tear the house down. So if the fans go through all of that and then go to the title match between Jinder and Shinsuke, Jinder, he's decent in the ring, but he's not great. I'd much rather see Shinsuke work with John Cena or Randy Orton as far as an exciting match. So if the fans sit through those great Hell in the Cell matches and then get to Shinsuke versus Jinder, the match is not going to get much reaction. I think the fans are going to be burnt out. So I think the match needs to happen earlier on in the card, and because of the placement on the card, that's why I see Jinder Mahal retaining the title. So I'll give my official predictions next week, but right now I'm not feeling too good about a Shinsuke Nakamura title victory. Maybe if Jinder survives one more time at the next pay-per-view, which might be Survivor Series by that point, or they might have one more. I don't know. The pay-per-view schedule confuses the fuck out of me. But maybe they can do another match where the match will main event and Shinsuke can actually win the title. If not, Jinder might hold that belt till WrestleMania. We have no idea. I mentioned Baron Corbin and AJ Styles a minute ago. Corbin beat Ty Dillinger on SmackDown via countout. He went on the outside of the ring and threw water in AJ Styles' face, and then he took Ty Dillinger and threw him into AJ Styles over the announce table. They both spilled to the floor, and Ty Dillinger got counted out. AJ and Baron Corbin, of course, have a U.S. title match at Hell in the Cell as well. Rusev had a victory celebration. He was very happy and very proud of his 9-second victory over Randy Orton last week. Aiden English is out there to hype him up, and I think he was even singing a little bit. And of course, Randy Orton crashes the party, nails Aiden English with an RKO literally out of nowhere. You did not see Orton come until Aiden English was already on the ground suffering the effects of the RKO. And then Rusev tries to attack, and he eats an RKO as well. So I guess we're going to get another match between Rusev and Randy at Hell in the Cell. I don't know if that's announced or not. It looks like that's what they're going to do. But if Rusev doesn't win, what's the point? You know, it's like Rusev's right back to where he was. He got that one victory over Randy Orton last week on SmackDown, but now Randy Orton's going to beat him again at yet another pay-per-view. Maybe not in 10 seconds this time. Maybe they actually have a match, but eventually you know that Randy Orton will probably score the pinfall there and get the victory, and Rusev will be right back to where he was. Hopefully I'm wrong on that. Hopefully this is the beginning of them deciding to do something more significant with Rusev, but I ain't holding my breath. We also had Charlotte defeating Carmela in a one-on-one match. Natalya came out to the stage to cut a promo on Charlotte after the match, hyping up their title match at Hell in a Cell. But the funniest thing about this is that James Ellsworth was on a leash. How long have they been doing that? He's out there. Carmella is literally dragging him to the ring on a dog leash, and then she chains him to the fucking turnbuckle so he can't go anywhere, which was kind of funny. I got a big chuckle out of that, and I found that amusing. And then the only other thing I have to mention about SmackDown is that we finally got the big confrontation that we knew was coming between Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode. Probably the whole point of doing all these gimmicks and all these entrances week after week is to set up him confronting the guy with the biggest entrance right now in WWE, or one of the biggest ones anyway, the glorious theme by Bobby Roode that the fans love, I love, we all love it. It's a very interactive entrance. The fans sing him to the ring, literally. And this week, Dolph Ziggler came out as The Undertaker, and the fans, that was kind of mean at WWE. As soon as The Undertaker's gong hit, you knew it was Ziggler, but some of that live audience, the way they were kind of oohing and eyeing, I think they thought he might actually come out on SmackDown. That would have been a strange place for The Undertaker to return on a random segment on SmackDown, but turns out to be Dolph Ziggler, comes out to the ring, talks more shit, says the same thing, I don't have to do these entrances, I'm the best wrestler in the WWE, and you fans, all you care about is the flashiness and the entrances and the presentation, and then Bobby Roode comes out to his music, the fans sing, Dolph Ziggler says he's exactly what's wrong with the WWE today, and he's not anywhere close to as good as Dolph Ziggler in the ring. Bobby Roode eventually challenges him to a match at Hell in a Cell. Dolph Ziggler accepts, and there you go. Dolph Ziggler versus Bobby Roode at Hell in a Cell, one-on-one. It's going to be a great match, but at this point, what outcome are we going to see other than Bobby Roode defeating Dolph Ziggler? Ziggler's been reduced to a stepping stone. He had that little feud with Shinsuke, and now they're doing it with Bobby Roode. And Dolph Ziggler's place on the card seems pretty apparent to me. So maybe they could swerve us and have Dolph steal a victory. That way they can have a rematch and have another great match, another pay-per-view or something. But aside from that, Bobby Roode will probably defeat Dolph Ziggler at Hell in a Cell. So that'll pretty much do it for Raw and SmackDown. Before I get out of here, I do want to mention a couple of other news items. Some of those you guys have been asking me to comment on. One of them was the Bullet Club showing up on Raw DX style before the show. I guess Cody Rhodes and Marty Scurll and the Young Bucks and somebody else were all in the Ontario, California area for some reason, where Raw was being held. So they did what DX did all those years ago, a show that I was at. I was there in Hampton, Virginia, when the DX guys went to Norfolk to confront WCW on Nitro outside of their building. So Bullet Club kind of did a play on that and showed up, and they have some videos posted on Twitter and some pictures, and they were out there with a megaphone, and they got a bunch of fans surrounding them. It was very, very eerily similar to what DX did to Nitro nearly 20 years ago now, but I thought that was really cool. I'm not sure how WWE feels about it internally. Surely they can't be that pissed about it. It wasn't that big of a deal. It popped a lot of the fans, and I don't think it was malicious in any way. But the WWE sometimes doesn't see things like that, and of course, the pettiness continues. The very next day, WWE actually sends and hits the Young Bucks with a cease and desist for the too sweet hand gesture. Can you believe that shit? What is the point? What is the big deal? WWE trademarked or somehow owns that hand gesture, and now they're pissed because the Bullet Club showed up outside of Raw, so they're going to be spiteful and hit these guys with a cease and desist. They've been doing this forever. It's a play. The reason they do this is because they grew up such big fans of the Clique and of that era and of the NWO and DX and all those guys, and it's almost a tribute to them. The fact that WWE gets so uppity, I know technically they own it and they have every right to do whatever they want, but it's silly. Plus these guys are making names for themselves outside of the WWE in Japan and Ring of Honor all over the place, doing this hand gesture and doing the crotch chops and doing a lot of stuff that DX and the NWO used to do. If you one day get these guys into your company, if you can convince them to sign, I know Young Bucks have turned them down a couple of times, but eventually if they come in, you just want as little heat as possible. Why start shit with these guys? It's not hurting the WWE at all for these guys to make a fucking hand gesture. It makes no sense. WWE is doing this, I feel, to be assholes. That's it. There's no other explanation for it. What the Young Bucks or the Bullet Club are doing is not harmful in any way, shape, or form to the WWE. Doesn't affect them at all. Shouldn't have any bearing on their product or their company. They shouldn't even worry about it. They shouldn't even care. But when you poke the bear, that's what happens. And I think, even though I think WWE are being shitheads for doing this, they probably wouldn't have even bothered had Bullet Club not done that little stunt outside the arena. So who knows there? It's just so stupid. WWE, concentrate on your own shit. Don't worry about what these guys are doing. If they're stealing and ripping off full-on gimmicks, if they're using your intellectual property, that's one thing. Go after them, do whatever you got to do. But you're talking about that Wolfpack hand gesture that they even do at North Carolina State. I used to live in North Carolina. The NC State mascot is a wolf. Their team is called the Wolfpack. Even the fans there make that hand gesture. And I don't think WWE's sending cease and desists to them. They might be. I don't know. But I think the whole thing is silly, and I think the WWE is fucking ridiculous. Also, just a quick follow-up on the Starrcade event returning to the WWE, or returning to Greensboro, I should say. It's just going to be a live event. I did mention last week, right before I did my commentary, I saw the news about Starrcade, so I didn't really read much about it. I was assuming it was going to be a network special because it's a Saturday show, 6 days after Survivor Series. I'm like, oh, that's probably something they're going to put on the network and make it just like a glorified house show. Well, pretty much that's what it is, except right now it's not even scheduled to be on the network. They already have the card announced for this thing. And Charlotte Flair is going to be wrestling Natalya, which is really cool to see a Flair on a Starrcade card in Greensboro. I think that's awesome. But right now, it's just a special event for the Greensboro audience, which I don't understand the point, unless they put up a few clips on YouTube or something like that. Apparently, Starrcade coming back is just a live event, and that's it. So if they change it and put it on the network, that might be possible, but right now it's not looking like it. So I don't know what the point of that is. Maybe just to help sell tickets in Greensboro. I don't know how many older fans they might attract for an event like this. Anybody who's a true Mid-Atlantic fan or a true NWA fan remembers how the Survivor Series came about back in 1987 or whatever. They ran that opposite Starrcade. Starrcade was already a few years old by that point. WWE created Survivor Series to run head-to-head with Starrcade, even blackmailed cable systems into not carrying Starrcade. And here they are putting Starrcade back in Greensboro. I'm not sure if they're trying to give a tribute to the NWA fans or insult them with that. It's kind of funny, but given the history between Starrcade and Survivor Series, I found it interesting that it's coming back that time of year in that building for that audience, and they're not even going to show it on the WWE Network. So we'll see what kind of house they draw for that. I can't imagine it will sell out. It might just be an attempt to see if they can draw in some of those Southern wrestling fans. I don't know. I've been to Greensboro Coliseum many, many, many times in the past. That's a great arena, and that town loves their wrestling, but I don't know if they're going to come out for a WWE version of Starrcade, especially one that's just, maybe a little bit nicer of a house show than normal. Also, Global Force Wrestling is in the news, except they're not really in the news because that's not their name. So they just recently, Impact Wrestling just recently merged and then rebranded to Global Force Wrestling. But after Jeff Jarrett left, because he's got all sorts of fucking problems, I guess they never finalized the deal to have the Global Force Wrestling name. So now they're going back to Impact again. This company, I tell you, man, I haven't ranted on TNA in a while, but everything you read about them is negative. I do not understand how they are still surviving. They can't do anything right. They literally fuck everything up. Think about the last few months with their pay-per-view and Alberto Del Rio winning the title and then having to strip them right after they unify it with Global Force Wrestling, and then they rebrand to Global Force Wrestling, and now they're not Global Force Wrestling anymore. They're back to Impact. I don't know what the hell to call this company other than a bowl of shit, so why don't we just call it Bowl of Shit Wrestling for right now? It's just a mess. So they even did that stupid little sneaky trick with Bobby Roode a few weeks ago where they made it look like he had jumped ship to TNA. I mean, they're the worst, man. Everything I read about them, everything I hear about them just makes me laugh, and I don't know what their deal is. Who knows? That company is a mess. But I got a huge chuckle out of the fact that they just rebranded to Global Force Wrestling and now they're unbranding. Who the fuck does that? And finally, the last thing I will talk about here is some fellow YouTubers. I've had a lot of people ask me about the What Culture guys. This news now is a couple of weeks old, I think, but it was announced recently that the What Culture YouTube channel that is very popular, hugely successful on YouTube, well over 1 million subscribers. They get tons of views. They even have their own wrestling federation. Well, 4 of their biggest personalities have all left at once. It's like the Radicals leaving WCW. Seriously, it's both Adams, Pacitti and Blampied, and then King Ross, and then I think Jack, the guy that kind of looks like me, that Simon guy, I think is the only one that stayed behind. And apparently they're just leaving to pursue other projects. And I don't know the story on this by now. There might be more information out about it, but I don't I was surprised that the fans found this as big of a story as it was. Hopefully that all 4 of these guys will stay in the internet wrestling community and maybe start up their own channels, maybe start up one channel with the 4 of them, because they really made What Culture Wrestling. They were the face of What Culture on YouTube. At least the wrestling channel anyway. They have a lot of other channels and do a lot of other things. But what I found interesting is that the fans are just right now just shitting all over What Culture. I clicked on a few of their videos. Right now, most of the uploads they have is of Simon because the fans are familiar with him and they're not going to shit on him too hard. But any other video with a different personality, the dislikes are out the ass. It's almost like the fans are blaming What Culture for this. Now, I don't know the story, so I can't comment on any facts here. But if I had to guess, I don't think What Culture would fire all these guys or push them out. Those guys are what made that channel what it is. So this had to be a decision by them. Maybe they decided the grass is greener elsewhere. They've developed a great fan following. Everybody knows who they are. If they started their own channel, they can probably be just as successful as What Culture, and they wouldn't have to be employed by What Culture, because who gets all the ad revenue from those videos that they do on What Culture? Probably the company. So if they did their own channel, they get the money. So maybe they're just leaving to go off on their own. They've got huge personalities and huge followings now, and they're over with the internet audience and people who watch YouTube and listen to podcasts like us, and they can probably do something pretty successful on their own. So I found that great for them. I was happy for them. I wish each and every one of those guys the best of luck. They're pretty entertaining. So in the meantime, all What Culture can do is try to move on. They're not going to fold up their business because 4 dudes left the company. They're going to try to press on. They're going to try to introduce new personalities to their channels and to their videos. And of course, the fans are going to reject the fuck out of it. But eventually, maybe they'll warm up to it right now. So right now, it's like, I found this a pretty big story, in the YouTube community, but I was really surprised how many people are hating on What Culture. All of a sudden, What Culture sucks, and they're just a sham of a website, and people are bitching about their ads and their clickbaits and all this stuff. These are complaints that I never heard before. Everybody loved What Culture with all those personalities. Some people criticized What Culture Wrestling a little bit, and I can see and understand some of those criticisms. But overall, What Culture was a pretty successful brand, and without those guys there, it's going to harm that channel immensely. You guys are 100% right. And if you feel like you need to unsubscribe to them because the only reason you were subscribed to them was because of those 4 guys, then you have every right to do that. I'm not going to criticize that either. But to drag them through the mud and now hate them and think that they're evil, that's just fucking silly. So, like I said, I don't know all the facts here. I don't know why these guys left or what the circumstances were or what their future plans are. But I would just think that it was personal decisions, and those guys just want to move on to another chapter in their life, and that's it. The last thing in the world I thought about was going over to What Culture and shitting on them and letting them know that I'm unsubscribing from them. That seems like a colossal waste of time. So I don't know what the future holds for the 4 guys that left or for What Culture on YouTube. I guess time will tell there. But yeah, that's my opinions. I wish all 4 of those guys luck. I like them all. And I want nothing but the best for not only them, but the company that they used to work for, because there are still people there employed by that company that need a job. You can't just fold up tent because these 4 guys left. You got to press on, and you got to survive, and you got to keep going. What does Joe Dirt say? Keep on keeping on, right? That's what they got to do. So, there you go. You guys have been dying to hear my opinions about it. I guess that's it. And you know what? One more quick thing that I want to add to this commentary before I sign off here. As I am editing this, the news has come across Twitter and a lot of other websites that Hugh Hefner, of course, the founder and owner of Playboy magazine, has died at age 91. I mention that because, number one, Hugh Hefner is a legend, and number two, Playboy has been very good to the WWE over the years. They've had many WWE females grace the cover of their magazines, and Hugh Hefner is a legend. He's an icon. He's a pioneer. And that magazine has a big part in history. I remember being a kid and seeing a Playboy for the first time. Like my friend's dad had it or something. And we were like 8 years old. And we're like, oh my God, boobies. That was porn back then. Now any 8-year-old can go right on Google and watch anybody just getting plowed right in the ass. But it wasn't like that back in the day. These were very tasteful magazines and tasteful spreads. And that's really the closest thing you got. You had some raunchier magazines that showed a little bit more. But the Playboy, that was the original. That's the one that everybody remembers. That's the magazine that became so famous. And Hugh Hefner, with his multiple wives that he had at a time, this guy was getting more pussy in his 80s than I got in my 30s, and it's ridiculous. So, Hugh Hefner, you are the man. Rest in peace. You lived one hell of a life, and there's nothing to be sad about here. This guy died at 91. He didn't die at 51 or young or anything like this. This guy got to be with beautiful women until he was 91 years old. You are the best. My condolences go out to your family and everybody that knew and loved you. Thank you for being kind to the WWE in the past. Thank you for opening up your doors to them. Thank you for allowing us to see Sable and Tori Wilson and a few others completely naked in your magazine as a wrestling fan. That was pretty cool. So anyway, just wanted to briefly mention the passing of Hugh Hefner. Rest in peace. So that'll wrap it up for this week. I am out of here. I will be back in regular time next week. Like I said, a couple of big episodes are in the works for the next 6 weeks, and my year-end video is already in production. And then aside from that, maybe I can even squeeze a Q&A in before the end of the year. No promises there, but I will try. Other than that, as far as any recent news goes, click on the cards in the top right-hand corner there if you want to hear my thoughts on Bobby the Brain Heenan's passing last week, or if you have not yet heard my reaction to the No Mercy pay-per-view last Sunday. So I will catch you guys in a few days with episode 459. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you very soon. Until next time, peace.